The ongoing pandemic is ravaging entire economies, and the world is changing in response to that. More and more of our daily lives are moving online. Now, more than ever, people are relying on the ability to work and communicate at a distance. And now, all at once, everyone is realizing just how terrible their laptop webcams are. The sensors on these devices are often limited to 720p resolution. But that's really not the problem. The problem is with the physical size of both the image sensor and the all-important light capturing lens. In this department, laptop cameras are seriously lacking compared to just about all other devices. It's more common to find a better front-facing camera on a budget smartphone than on a high-end laptop. It's all about bezel space. You see, resolution is only one of the many metrics of a camera. It's not all about the megapixels. Things like number of f-stops, a good aperture, and image stabilization go a long way. Another important metric, especially for video, is the frame rate. A high-resolution, super clear image doesn't do much good when it's turned to an indistinct. The ongoing pandemic is ravaging entire economies, and the world is changing in response to that. More and more of our daily lives are moving online. Now, more than ever, people are relying on the ability to work and communicate at a distance. And now, all at once, everyone is realizing just how terrible their laptop webcams are. The sensors on these devices are often limited to 720p resolution. But that's really not the problem. The problem is with the physical size of both the image sensor and the all-important light capturing lens. In this department, laptop cameras are seriously lacking compared to just about all other devices. Laptop cameras are seriously lacking compared to just about all other devices. It's more common to find a better front-facing camera on a budget smartphone than on a high-end laptop. It's all about bezel space. You see, resolution is only one of the many metrics of a camera. It's not all about the megapixels. Things like number of f-stops, a good aperture, and image stabilization go a long way. Another important metric, especially for video, is the frame rate. A high-resolution, super clear image doesn't do much good when it's turned to an indistinguishable blur once a video session starts. The thing is, all the bells and whistles require physical space, something that is a premium on just about any device that has a display. Simply put, the market has demanded that laptops have super sleek bezels like their smartphone cousins. In fact, the smartphone industry has gone so far as to remove chunks of the screen in favor for a more screen-only experience. But you can expect that to change. So manufacturers have been able to get away with using outdated camera modules. They have been able to stuff them in odd off-center places on the screen and even under keys. No one has noticed because they are super happy with their smartphone's front-facing camera's performance, and they have not had to use their laptop webcam that much. Until now. With plexiglass panels being installed at businesses that conduct face-to-face transactions, and with social distancing being the new normal, lots of people find themselves somewhat disconnected from the IRL world and are spending more time on the internet. This goes far beyond watching more cat videos on YouTube and binge watching more of your favorite shows on Netflix. This extends into work. More and more jobs are allowing their employees to work from home for the first time. As a result, more and more people are turning on those webcams to find how shabby they really are. This will no doubt increase the number of consumer complaints about this, and it applies to all manufacturers. Overall, you can expect a storm of innovation in laptop webcams in the near future. Welcome to Tech Daily Podcast. I am Matthew, and joining me, as always, Joseph Everett. What's going on, man?
Hey, I would say nothing much, but a lot's going on.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So laptops, what's wrong with them?
The problem with laptops today is that even though CPU performance has increased and RAM sizes and speeds have increased dramatically, and storage has increased dramatically when we switched from hard drives to solid states, speeds have just increased by 100-fold in some areas. It's amazing. but there has been little to no innovation in the webcam department.
What are they lacking?
Well, there are some articles out there that have talked about this, and there's one in particular on digital trends, and they just complain about the resolution. They made some direct comparisons with certain laptops that have lower resolution cameras to other phones and other devices that have really nice cameras, and they drew a reasonable conclusion, and they really went in depth into the physical hardware of it, and they had some things laid out and showed the physical modules and the different sizes and new prototypes that aren't even ratified yet, and I was really impressed with all of that. But they mainly focused on resolution. And when it comes down to it, yes, higher resolution is much better. Give me a 4K webcam on a laptop. I mean, that's what everybody wants. But when it comes down to it, a crappy experience that you get from a webcam, one of the least important things is resolution. Resolution can be very low and you can still have a really good experience. Sure, I would love to see you right now, Matt, in 1080p. That would be great. And if your camera was at the same physical quality and had the same type of image sensor, just scaled up to 1080p, that would be better. But there's other things you can do, a lot of other things you can do to have a good image. You can have a very low resolution video at like 320p or something like that. And yeah, if you stretch that out full screen on a real big display, you'll see that it's blurry or whatever. But in most video conferencing situations, you can get away with a really low resolution. The problem is the quality of the image sensor itself. How sensitive is it to photons, okay? And the most important part is that lens. And if you don't have space for a good lens, or you just don't have the innovation required, okay, these things are built by people, okay? People manufacture them. The people making them don't necessarily know how they work, and they're not necessarily the designers or the engineers. But other people design these things, and they're going on last year's design, and they're just keeping going. You know, it's business as usual because there hasn't been a demand for it. Laptops have been able to get away with this because of the smartphone revolution and all of the innovation that's gone into the people that make those physical modules, the engineers that design those. They're not the same people as the people that design the other things. They're different. Even if they're the same company or the same division, they're more than likely not the same people designing these. And if they are the same people designing these, they're going on two separate projects in their system. So innovation happening in one doesn't necessarily bleed into the other, especially if these are different companies and different people. So they're in an isolated little safety zone because we've had a lot of innovation in graphics and in processor technology. Even though transistors are getting pretty hard to make, there's been a big jump in processor technology over the last 10 years, especially with new things like Ryzen and DDR5 memory and all that stuff. So there have been a bunch of great improvements in thin and light laptops. You can take apart laptops now and the motherboards are just slivers of circuit board in the corner, and it's just mostly battery. And these are nice high-end computers. So lots of innovations happened, and they've been distracted by the smartphone that has a phenomenal camera at the price. You can, like they said in their article, they said it so well when they said you can get a better front-facing camera on a $200 smartphone than you can get on a $2,000 laptop. And that is absolutely true, but it's not the resolution.
It makes sense because the people that are buying laptops aren't buying them for the cameras. People that are buying phones are buying them for the cameras.
And another great point they said in the Digital Trends article is that because of this virus, for the first time in mass, everybody's turning on their laptop webcam and getting on Skype and new services like Zoom, and they're discovering for the first time that their really nice computer that they use every day for work that never fails them, that they're really happy with, has a terrible webcam, a horrendous webcam. a deal breaker webcam. Like if you knew it, you wouldn't have bought it. And that's a shock to people.
Yeah.
It
So
really
now,
is.
I think maybe laptop manufacturers are seeing more incentive.
Yeah,
have better
now
webcams.
now that everybody knows, the cat's out of the bag. Digital Trends made their piece on it, then this is our piece on it. And consumer complaints that don't even hear about this stuff from us or anyone else are just organically gonna pop up. And suddenly Sony, HP, Lenovo, Dell, all of those companies they're gonna be in demand. And the first company that does a good job fixing it is gonna be the market leader.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be Apple.
And I guess, I'm wondering if you can just take a smartphone camera and stick it in a laptop.
Right, they use different interfaces. So the laptop cameras typically use a MIPI interface, which is like a circuit to circuit interconnect, like I2C or SM bus or something like that, like ways for microcontrollers and microprocessors to communicate with each other. It's like a fundamental protocol. Whereas most of these laptop modules use USB. It's just USB. Like you can cut these dang webcams off of the laptops and solder them to a USB male cable and plug it into a computer, and it will go dink and install the driver. It works.
So you could theoretically do that, right?
Well, the thing is, you can hack and move the webcam easily from a laptop because they're USB and put it on anything, probably even on an Android device. It'll probably detect it as a third camera very easily if it has USB on the go. But what we need is the smartphone camera modules to have that same easy portability, and they don't. You can get a really nice USB 3.0 webcam that's like really good, no problem. So USB isn't the problem. That's just one of the fundamental properties of the current supply chain, the whole loop that makes this possible. It's just USB. That's the difference. If these other cameras didn't use MIPI, or they had some sort of MIPI to USB interface built in with some sort of legacy pins that were usually disconnected that you could connect, you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like the module could ship with a new MIPI connector, and that MIPI connector has 4 extra pins in it, or for USB 3, more than that, it has a couple extra pins in it. And if those pins are connected, it disables the MIPI interface, or just sends the MIPI interface to some sort of converter IC that broadcasts that over the USB 3 bus. So that's a solution. But there hasn't been a demand for that in the smartphone industry. Why would they add USB support when they don't need to? And no complaints about laptop webcams are going to end up in smartphone webcam designer inboxes. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So what needs to happen is we need cameras behind the screens. Plain and simple. The problem is bezels. Everybody hates bezels. You see all these new smartphones. We want bezels so thin in our devices, the market demands that the screen be sacrificed. Literally the screen be sacrificed, and they stylize that sacrifice as a notch. And that shows our priorities as a market.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So we don't want bezels. The solution is not thicker bezel for thicker module. So you got to do something with the module. They're going to have to do something innovative with the modules, or they're going to have to work with the people that are making the MIPI cameras and make a new hybrid design or something like that.
Well, both laptop cameras and smartphone cameras, for the most part, have pretty much the same form factor right now.
No, they don't actually. That's the thing.
They're both pinhole.
Yeah, but the boards, that's just what you see. That's the end user form factor.
Right.
Right. Behind it, so in a laptop, you have a thin, long strip. It's like the shape of a stick of gum, but much smaller. But I'm just saying that's the form factor of it. And the camera sits somewhere in the middle or off center, and it's just mounted behind the bezel to where the camera itself ends up being center.
Okay.
And in smartphone and tablets, it's literally just the camera module with everything built into it and a little high density pin connector done on a flexible circuit board.
I see.
So the physical size is already small enough, yes, to put in a laptop, but you have to have some sort of converter board up there to fit in there as well. So okay. it's still another problem. They can redesign the connector and use the MIPI interface, or like laptop motherboard manufacturers might include MIPI support. How about that? And just avoid the whole need for the nice camera manufacturers to switch to a new interface, which would probably take a bunch of time and money. They can just include support for that interface natively on their boards, which would help the whole situation and make their computer sell better anyways, and they could have but here's the thing, you still have to put that camera somewhere, and nobody wants bezels. Bezels are like really frowned upon right now.
So what has to change then?
We have to have a screen that's got some sort of transparent property to it, to where it can generate light, photons that are beamed out to us, but it also, on the other side, it lets the photons coming from us go through it. So
while also having a screen to look at.
Yes.
Graphics on the screen.
Yes. Yes. So there has to be a way that we can make it not obvious that there is a section of the screen that has this property. I think the entire screens need to have this property. I envision cameras being broken down into their constituent components as modules and spread throughout the screen, like every 500th pixel or something, in the X and Y directions. And you've got a screen that has photon producing elements, and then you've got that same screen that has photon absorbing elements peppered throughout it in a way that's interpreted by software and reconstructed as if it had a lens and all of that, just by capturing those photons. And that's what I envision in the future. I envision the end game of all of this is that the screens will both capture light and produce light. And an intermediate step is to have some sort of transparent screen with traditional MIPI camera modules behind it with a native interface on the board.
I know you've been saying that for a long time. You've had that prediction for a while.
Long time. The earliest I can think back was 2013.
But now that people are actually noticing.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll push innovation in that direction.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I hope so. I want to make some sort of impact. I love following along with this stuff. It's great.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Also, I have one more question. Is the lack of quality well, I think you might have answered that question earlier. Is the lack of quality cameras allowing for affordable laptops?
All the laptops have bad webcams. When I have a video interaction with someone for the first time, I always determine what device they're using. And if it's in portrait mode, it's obviously only going to be a tablet or a laptop. Maybe on the extreme rare case, it's a convertible laptop that's turned all the way over, made into tablet mode, but that's so ridiculously rare that it's not even worth mentioning. Okay, so I identify the device. If it's in portrait mode, it could still be a phone or a tablet, and it's pretty obvious by the way they're holding it or the way that it might be set. But if you see someone in portrait mode and that thing is up at eye level, it's a laptop. And every single time I see somebody that obviously to me is on a laptop or an all-in-one, it's something with a traditionally hided, because you're not going to have a tablet up there. Tablet's going to be set down on the ground, or you're going to be holding it.
Right.
Okay, you might prop it up just perfect, but most people just aren't going to do that. So anyways, every time I know for sure when I say, oh, that's a laptop, I think that's a nice webcam. 1 out of 100 times. Like, look at what I'm on right now versus what you're on right now. You have a dedicated webcam, correct?
That's correct.
That has the physical space for the nice big lens and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at you at super low resolution, my friend. It's like 320p max. It's blurry in certain areas and whatever, but it's a totally clear, high quality image. It doesn't take away from anything. I see all of your emotions and everything. Now look at mine. It's garbage. It's just terrible. The frame rate's low. Look, it gets all blurry when I do this. It's got a lot of noise in it. See the noise speckling around everywhere? Mm-hmm. The blacks aren't black. It's so much more than resolution. And on my end of it, because I'm not getting the broadcasted feed, I'm just getting the live feed from my webcam, I'm getting a much higher quality feed than you're getting. So mine is actually sharper than yours. I have a higher resolution, but it is a much lower quality image overall. Much lower quality. I would much rather have what I'm seeing from your end. And that's coming all the way over the internet. It's because your sensor's better.
It says it's 720p, but you're not seeing 720p.
No, then I'm not seeing you in 720p. Absolutely not. This is below SDTV. This is below NTSC right now. But sure, I'd love it to be crystal clear. But this experience that I'm getting from you is way better than what you're getting from me. You're literally doing you better than I'm doing me.
Okay, well, that's all the questions I have for you, Joe.
Great.
Talk to you next time.
See ya.
All right, that was Joseph Everett on video call. He is a journalist and tech expert writing for Tech&Geek.com. This podcast is brought to you by One Chair Room Productions, a media company at OneChairRoom.com. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. This has been Tech Daily. I am Matthew, TTFN.